and welcome to the podcast. Ah, my beautiful, beautiful friend. Yes, she is my friend, audience. Bernadette Williams York. Hi, Bernadette. How are you?
Hi, Kenya. I am wonderful and just so excited to be here today.
I'm so excited to have you. And it was funny. I was a lot of times, I'm preparing and making sure, and people that maybe I know, but I don't know, I have to kind of go through a couple things. But I'm like, no, I know
hmm
Bernadette pretty well, pretty well. But I'm just so excited to put you in this space so that other people can get to know you pretty well.
I am just so excited that you invited me to be here. So this is really an honor. So thank you, Kenya.
You're welcome. Yeah, you were very quick on my list of people to ask to be on the podcast because when I think about finding your voice after 40 and I think about you and how you are living your life, you're so inspiring. We won't say all your business in our little 30, 40 minutes today, but you are living a very inspiring life. And those of you who are not on our Patreon, OMG, you need to get our Patreon so you can see Bernadette because Bernadette just glows. She's a light and always has. So I'm excited. I'm just excited.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. That was so sweet.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. So, as you know, and Bernadette said, "Oh, I've been listening to your podcast. It's good." So she kind of knows the format. I can't surprise her, but I am going to read because not everybody knows about you, and so I'm going to read a little bit of something to you and to the audience, and then we'll get really into this conversation. So, this is what I'm going to read.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm excited. And I want to say more than that's on here, but guys, just bear with me. I'm not going to. I'm going to be very direct and but Bernadette Williams York is an educator, health and wellness practitioner, mentor, and motivational speaker. She's devoted her professional career to increasing access to graduate health professional education for young African American men and women and others from underrepresented racial ethnic backgrounds. Although trained in the traditional medical model as a physical therapist, fellow PT, yes, we're both PTs, she now resonates more with holistic healing practices and has expanded her own self healing journey to include some of these ancient modalities. Through her work as a leader in healthcare education, she aims to empower, uplift, and inspire the next generation to promote and embrace holistic healing. And she's a very dear friend and colleague and twin in a lot of ways. We have
hmm
a lot of similarities. So Bernadette, I've been asking the guests, how does that feel to hear that read aloud and to you?
It feels wonderful and just so affirming
Yeah. Yeah.
of where I am right now and at this stage of my life. So it just feels wonderful to hear.
Yeah, you should feel wonderful. And I always tell people, we only have so many minutes, so I can only do snapshots. But
Mhm.
Bernadette has a lot that goes with that, Reiki, yoga instructor. I mean, all of these other, and I mentioned in the reading about these ancient modalities and just beautifulness. Yet, and you have a story though. And, a lot of those things that I just mentioned, you got after 40.
Mhm.
You went into that
Mhm.
after 40, which is why I do this podcast so people understand that after 40 is a really beautiful time. But if you could share with our audience before 40, and I always start kind of in our 20s a little bit, um,
Mhm.
who was Bernadette? In her 20s. Who was that woman? And you can talk career, personal, whatever resonates for you.
Mhm. Well, in my 20s, I was really a little timid and I guess afraid,
Mm,
very anxious, and just looking to others to validate who I was,
mm,
and not really knowing myself. Um, I think I lived in fear and anxiety a lot.
mm,
So, in order to make myself feel good, I was always seeking other people's approval, whether it be whoever I was dating, or if I was working in a certain situation or in a group of people, I always wanted to be liked. And I think
Mm,
that was, looking back on my life in my 20s, I really think that was the difference between who I am today and where I was in my path at that time.
mm. See, I want to dig all into that, but then
Mhm.
we'll be running to the 40s. But I want us to stay stay in the 20s. So the decisions you
Mhm.
were making, you talked about relationships,
Mhm.
wanting to people please. Was that just something that, since you were a little girl, that was a part? Do you feel like that's just kind of how a bit of how you were wired? Or were there specific things that happened in life that made you feel like, no, I'm safer
No,
over there?
I think it a lot came from my upbringing and childhood and uh environment growing up.
Mm,
I just always felt like I wasn't enough. I know you hear that term a lot, but there was always something that I felt lacking. I had low self esteem. I always felt like I was too tall and I didn't fit in. And so,
mm.
I wanted to be just like everybody else. And
Mm.
yet, God created me 6 feet tall, and there was no hiding. You know, there
No.
there was no hiding, but yet I still felt insecure. And so I think it came from being different initially and standing out, but not feeling comfortable
Mm,
standing out and being in the spotlight. And I think that that's what led me to always make the safe decision.
mm.
I had a plan, and as far as I'm gonna go to school, graduate, get my degree, get married, have kids. I had this plan, and I never really stopped to think about what is it, or what things actually bring me joy, or what are the things that I really want to do. I just felt in a lot of
Mm.
ways compelled to do certain things because that's what you're supposed to do.
That's what you're supposed to
And
do. Yeah.
if you want people to like you and approve of you, you do these things. And so I think that really dictate the decisions I made during my 20s
Mm.
and
Do you think
early
that's the
part of my life.
Yeah. No, I relate. Listen, we are such twins. I mean, I'm just like, and I know that for many women,
Mhm.
particularly, just because of the way society moves, for our generation, can relate to what you just said. And that kind of having the list and like, okay, I'm going to go to school, graduate, so forth.
Mhm.
Do you think picking physical therapy and going in the space of health was that too just well, I guess I'll pick something that, I know I can get a job? Or did you feel even in your 20s, because you're still in that space, did that resonate for you then?
Well, to be honest, Kenya, the way I chose to be a physical therapist was I put a lot of faith and trust into this aptitude test that I took in
Uh,
6th grade that said,
oh, wow. Sixth grade.
6th grade, 11 years old, and it said the two careers that I was most aligned with were physical therapist and interior decorator. And
Really?
yes, and at that young age, I said, let me see. Huh. Physical therapy, I can help people. So it was even then that I was thinking about being of service and, yeah,
Yeah.
and giving. And interior decorator I saw as honestly a little playful and,
Yeah.
a little selfish, and you can't
Mm.
really have that kind of fun and make a living. So it
Yeah.
seemed impractical. So I made the practical choice.
Mm. Well, and you know what? I really hope people, the reason why I kind of go backward, and I'm so glad you went all the way back to 11, because so many parents, want their children to kind of, oh, little Bobby, loves to build. He's going to be an engineer. And little
Hmm.
Bobby's like, oh, am I? And, and again, kind of these certain things, stories, like you said, as far as interior design seeming too playful, too
Mm-hmm.
fun,
Mm-hmm.
and that's that creative energy, kind of being tossed to the side. I think that happens
Mm-hmm.
so much to people. So I think it's really important, for people who have kids, no matter really what age, understand that they're these little things that get planted in the head stay in the child's story of our brain. And thinking that,
Yes.
yes, and thinking that playful is not really allowed in adulthood. It's not practical.
Exactly. Exactly. So I made that decision and I charted my course, and I did graduate and become a physical therapist, but who knows what else I could have chosen if I
Yeah.
had the opportunity or been exposed to other things. But I literally made that decision at 11 and followed through. And in a lot of ways, the career choice has been very gratifying and satisfying. And I can't deny that. But I always think about what else, or what if
Mm,
I had chosen
mm,
interior design instead. Yeah.
okay. Yeah. Yeah,
Hmm.
no, I think I think that's why I kind of asked that question. So we're gonna keep moving through. Now I know you because you're my friend, and I'm not gonna put all your personal business out there. However, I think this is important.
Hmm.
You are not currently married, but have been married
Hmm.
before, and maybe then that first occurred in your 20s, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
25.
25. Okay. All right.
Yes.
All right. So I'm bringing this up because Bernadette, I'm trying to tease it out, not, give away all her personal life, but I think this is important for people not only to see things from our career side, but how we make decisions in our personal life, that practicality going both ways. Was marriage for you in that same space, or was that different?
Marriage for me, or the decision to get married, was one of the things on my checkoff list.
Mm.
Get married, have a baby. And I did. I got married in my 20s and had my daughter, the next year. So check, check. Um, but again, that's such a major decision to make. And
Yeah.
some people do make very wise decisions at that age. But if you don't know who you are, if you don't know yourself, if you don't understand what brings you joy, if you don't love yourself, how can you possibly
Mm.
make a decision to love somebody else and to be committed to someone else, for a
Yeah.
lifetime? And I think that that was the missing piece in me making that decision at such an early age. And it was just a sense of me, because literally I'm gonna say dragged him down the aisle pretty much. I mean,
Oh no.
yeah, yeah. It was that lack of it was the
Oh
insecurity and
wow.
lack of self-esteem that I needed to grab and hold on,
Mm.
and that gave me my sense of worth. Like, that was my sense of worthiness, is that somebody married me.
Oh wow.
And that's kind of one of the things that society says. And I was just totally following the rules of society at that
Mm.
point to get my gratification and my fulfillment.
Mm. Well, I don't even know how vulnerable. I don't know if you feel the vulnerability in that. Now, I don't tell people's ages, and I'm not going to tell your age. And you have the privy if you want to share it or not. But that's not. I always just say over 40. I do have some people who want me to clearly say over 50 if they, whatever. But you're not. You're over 40. And you and I'm bringing this up because one, you guys need to come on Patreon. Bernadette doesn't look anything of her age. I'm not gonna. Do you want to share your age? You prefer not?
I am very proud of my age, Kenya.
Okay.
I
Okay.
I am 61,
Oh my
for the
gosh.
audience to know. And when I was thinking about my journey this morning, I was thinking much of what has led me to be who I am today didn't really happen until 40. And it's
Yes.
40 and after.
Yeah.
It's when I really became the person that I am today. And
Yeah.
so it's such a fitting marker when I look back on my life and I think about what I was doing at 40. I didn't have my doctoral degree at 40. I had not entered the higher education spectrum at 40.
Wow. Wow.
I certainly had not started any of the Reiki, the yoga. reflexology, any of those like energy healings, or just being in touch with myself as a spiritual being. None of that. None of that happened until after 40.
Isn't that so? See, and this, thank you for just saying that, because this is such an important to me conversation. I guess, obviously I'm a little biased because I'm over 40, but I do think that we still in society have this very limited scope of how we can move our life after
Mm,
40. And with
mhm,
you being honest and saying 61, and I hope y'all all come to Patreon to watch this video, because I'm telling you, Bernadette doesn't even begin to. I mean, we also have her image on our podcast, our little promo. But I just think, not only how you look, but there's an energy within inside that's very vibrant and shows up. And hearing you say it was after 40 is like, because this is recent, you know what I mean? This is
mhm.
in the later part of your life. So what, and I listen, I should have said this, we're going to change, so people reading the podcast notes is Dr. Bernadette Williams York. Let's make sure we're really clear. Not everybody
Mhm.
has to be told doctor, but that is a huge accomplishment. And it's funny, I'm brainstorming and considering this whole doctoral world, and it's very motivational. I'm meeting a lot of women telling me that they didn't get their doctorates to after 50 even. So it's encouraging to hear that. But what was the thing then, Bernadette, for you, that what was the shift? What happened to have you begin to step into Bernadette?
That's a great question, Kenya. A really good question. And I think the shift started when I moved away from where I had spent most of my life.
Mm.
I started, and I still think about it. I've lived in like 5 states since I was 40. Like I started on this
Since
journey.
40. See,
Yes.
guys? Yes.
Yes, I have been traveling, and it's not something that I actually planned. It's just one thing led to another opportunity, a door opened, and I felt led. I is how I'm going to say it.
Mhm.
Whenever I make a move, that's how I feel like I'm led into that next, through that next door. And so all of these experiences have shaped me and sharpened me and molded me and tested me. And I've been through the
Yeah.
fire and the rain and the desert and the storms,
The desert.
and
Yes.
all of it. And I
Yeah.
think those experiences, being open to them and taking from them uh, the I guess I should say recognizing that no matter what the experience is for my highest good. And
Mm.
I started doing that after 40 because I started spending more time by myself, reading, reflecting, listening to self-help books on, how to love yourself, um, really doing exercises and doing things that allowed me to be in nature. I love nature. I realize now that it's so important for
Mm.
me, for my spiritual growth, and for my renewing of my spirit to be in nature as much as possible. So I
Mm.
just started really spending time by myself, a lot of
Mm.
solitude.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think solitude, it's funny when we think after 40, we don't want to, that's the time we really need to make sure we're with somebody, or,
Mhm. Mhm.
this destitute thing. But with the maturity, with the having the experiences, I think, in your 40s, 50s, spending that time alone with self is it's a very different picture than maybe in your 20s and your 30s. And doing it from a space of wholeness and seeking, um not so much, oh well, I guess I better, but from a space of, this is actually going to really allow me to be even more fruitful and even more myself. I just, I see that I has in my 20 years of knowing you, and I believe it actually might be
It
it's more than
has.
20. I think it's
Yeah,
more like
I was
25.
well, I think it was like 2001 because that's when 9/11 happened.
Oh, I
And
think
it
I
was,
I think I met you before 2001.
well, that's when I went to Howard. That's how I
Okay.
remember 2001. It's somewhere around there, Kenya. We didn't mark it on the calendar, so who
We should have
knows?
marked it. Yeah, I left DC in 2002, and I had known you a few years before. Yeah,
Oh,
so I
okay.
wanna say it was probably like 99.
Okay.
But it's been a long time, and,
At least 20 years.
at least, yeah, more than easily, and not you're right, you weren't doing any of these things. I mean, you were in education, but and PT, but all of these other, aspects were not there. So I touched on marriage. Now that was actually marriage 1, but there was
Mhm.
a marriage 2. So I
Yes.
wanna go in that space because again, in the podcast, I want us to, hear the whole of the person. What part of life was that, in 40s, 50s? When was that the marriage 2 happened? And was that a different approach or similar?
Yeah, that happened right around 50
Mm,
is when I got married again, and it was magical. We were married for 10 years, and
nice,
we're still friends today, I want to
nice.
say, and
Nice.
still connected, and so that's beautiful. But it was I was at a different place in my life at that point. I was practicing some of the things that we're talking about, but not Reiki and not yoga at that
Mm,
point. Um, and I was working in this very toxic environment. Like,
mm,
I mean, literally, when I got married, I moved to this place where it was an extremely toxic environment and probably the toughest 7 years of my life.
oh, wow.
So I think
Wow.
that impacted the marriage to a bit because it was a very challenging time for me.
Mm,
And even talking about it now, it's still, I still feel it in my gut
mm, mm.
because of the fact that it really was the first time that I felt like I was betrayed by a good friend.
Oh, wow.
And
Mm,
that friend actually happened to be someone who I worked with. So it
mm,
was a very, very tough time in my
mm,
life. And I think my marriage kind of suffered because
mm.
of that too.
Yeah. Another really vulnerable, honest thing, and I think,
Mhm.
we can't underestimate the power of work, the power of friendships,
Mhm.
and how, it's, "Oh, well, I'll just get another job," or, "Oh, well, I'll just, move on from that friendship," or whatever, and it's like you said, it's even to this day, you feel it, you know?
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think your body holds some of the traumas that we experience, and
Mm,
I think that I think the body is all knowing and is capable of amazing things if we allow it. And so that's pretty much where I am in my life today. And I tune in to the feelings. So that's why I'm so sensitive now that I
mm,
can feel things. I can feel different energies. Even if I speak something or if I say something or someone says something to me, um, I take a moment to see where I feel it in my body.
mm,
And so I listen and pay attention because I think that illness and disease come when we ignore the
mm.
signals that our body gives us and dis-ease. And I think
Yes.
that when we tune in, the body will tell you what it needs
Yeah.
and how to heal. And so that is I think the biggest truth that I have learned, I would say
Mm.
in the last 10 years, and certainly 5 to 10 years, is that that's the truth that now I think is impacting my life and my purpose and what I want to do from here on out.
Mm. Well, this is a beautiful segue. I'm so glad you just broke that down, and I think people need to rewind and play this again because at this age, there's a lot with, oh, my body's doing this, and oh my
Mm-hmm.
God, I'm doing, and it's like, yeah, the body does a natural, just like you naturally went through puberty and,
Mm-hmm.
naturally go through the different cycles that the body does. And this is
Mm-hmm.
another cycle that it's going through. And still, it's not attempting to hurt you. It's not attempting to make your
No.
life bad. It is actually sending new signals for you to treat it accordingly. So I'm glad you said that.
Oh, yeah. And I think it's more important for us to be in tune after 40 with our bodies than before because our bodies are so resilient when we're young. If you think
Mm-hmm.
about all you did, just bounces right back and like heals itself, right?
Right,
Without you even thinking about it.
right,
It's just the gift of youth.
right, right.
I think that as we become older and wiser, that it's even more important for us to be tuned in to the messages our bodies are giving us because we can do without a lot of the medications and a lot of the even the foods we eat. If you pay attention to how you feel when you eat something, your body
Mm-hmm.
will tell you if it likes it or not. It
Mm-hmm.
will.
It will.
I mean, I certainly can tell when I eat something simple like a salad. It just feels good, feels quiet, feels calm. You know,
Right.
as opposed to a big chili steak, cheese steak, for example. You're like, okay, oh.
Right, right, right,
It's like
right.
now your body's like, well, what we gonna do about this? We
What
got
we
this
gonna do
big.
about it?
What are we gonna do about it? What are we gonna do? Because I'm uncomfortable.
Yes. And the
you
cool
know.
thing, hearing you explain it the way you just did in terms of being wiser now. So
Hmm.
we also have more tools at this age to listen and act accordingly. Whereas
Yeah.
when you're in our youth, we don't have all the experience and the tools and the just the maturity sometimes to recognize, to sit down. So, you know, this journey is very smart. It's very brilliant. And it gives you that latitude at a younger age because you wouldn't know what to do. Like you're not as tuned in. You haven't have as much life experience. But
Yes.
but after 40, now we got more life now. So we need to start, we can't just keep skating in life. It's time. And that doesn't mean bad. It doesn't mean, oh, I gotta get serious now. No, it's just you just use the tools that you've been kind of gifted with, the maturity, the experience to pay attention, just like you use that at work, just like you use that in parenting, use that with your body.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly. And Kenya, I know that you mentioned that uh, I've been blessed, and I know I absolutely have. But I think, and I want to share that my biggest blessing, I believe, is the fact that at 61 years old, I'm on no prescription medications. I none.
Awesome.
And I know
Awesome.
that that is such a huge blessing, and I
Yes.
just give thanks to God every day.
Yes.
I practice gratitude. Let me just say that. I do a gratitude affirmation every day. And one of
Awesome.
them is just for my health. And I'm
Mm,
just so grateful for that because
mm.
it allows me to be able to live life as fully as possible and to be able to give from a place of wellness, of balance, of
Mm.
equilibrium. Because what can you give if you're struggling and fighting yourself to for your body to get well, and for
Absolutely.
you to be in a good place and have a sense of well-being and balance. There's no place for you to give from. You can't give from an empty cup. And so
Right.
I just feel like that is my greatest blessing. And so I am just always looking to maintain my health and my vitality.
Mm.
Um, and as I get older, I figured out that the best way to do that is just listen and pay attention and to do those do the
That's
things
it.
that give your body the health and the vitality. And I just wanted to say that. I'm just so grateful.
No, that's huge. That's huge.
Hmm.
I mean, and this is the thing is you said, it's that simple. And I know that we have so much life that happens that
Mm,
make us think it can't be that simple.
mhm,
But like you said, when you eat a salad, rarely do we eat. I don't know if anybody, and you might say, okay, I want a little bit more, maybe, right?
mm,
I always say we need to look at the salad that you're making because a lot of people don't even know all the various vegetables and the
mm.
ways you can prepare the vegetables so that your salad is more fulfilling and vibrant and have a little bit more depth to it. But yeah, no, this is, it's huge. And you know, sent me on a little bit of ahas on like, you know what, we have the tools as we're aging to be smarter, period.
Mm-hmm.
So are we using that when we are we using that just in like relationships or just in jobs? Are we using that in how we listen to our bodies so that we can have that vibrance? Mm.
Yes.
I could go on and on. Okay, so I have we're already kind of, I'm like, I'm watching my clock to make sure we're not talking about something. I do want, you've already talked a lot about there's, I have about maybe two more questions, two and a half more questions. You've already kind of talked about self-care and nature
Mm-hmm.
and you know, obviously the way you eat, the way you're it is, and you, this kind of, you're alluding to your, to me, to your self-care practice by doing
Mm-hmm.
the gratitude and the affirmation each day. Yeah, what does self-care mean to you when you hear that term, and how do you practice it?
Self-care means to me taking exactly that, taking good care of yourself, putting yourself first and your health and your well-being first,
Mm,
and really tuning in to see, how do I feel today? How did that salad I ate, or that chili steak I just ate, how did that feel? You know,
mm,
how am I feeling down? If I'm feeling down, well, what do I need to do to get my energy up? I mean, really tuning in and paying attention. And so I know I keep saying that, but I really think the body will let you know if you ask the question to
yeah,
yourself. You
yeah,
will get the answer.
yeah.
And a lot of that comes from just spending time with yourself, solitude again, getting to
Mhm.
know yourself. And then once you get to know yourself and you ask yourself questions, and God, Holy Spirit, whatever you want to call it, that lives within you will give you the answer.
Mhm.
And if you respond to that, you'll get more answers. And you just keep asking, seeking, and getting the answers. And I just think self care is about finding out what brings you joy, and then do those things that
Do
bring
those
you
things.
joy.
Yeah.
Find out the things that make you feel good, and then do those things, you know? So,
Yeah.
we know that when we don't eat right, we don't feel good. So pay attention and try and do something about your diet. I'm not saying you have to follow any prescribed diet, but just
Right.
pay attention to how the body feels when you eat certain things. And we know the
Absolutely.
body likes to move, and it doesn't have to be you running a marathon like my brother does at 62. Like, oh my God, he looks amazing. Oh,
Oh,
anyway,
wow,
running
wow.
marathons. I'm not running marathons. I'm
But if
just
that's what
paying.
brings you joy
If it would bring
and
you joy, and you have the good knees to still do it, do it.
ooh, the knees.
The knees.
Yes,
But
yeah.
Kenya, as a physical therapist, we know that the joints a lot of times, they take a pounding by the time we're over
Yeah,
40. And so
yeah.
you can't do those, high impact sports maybe like we used to. And so I avoid those, because I used to play basketball in college, and my
Mhm.
right knee still kind of, wants to crack. It doesn't hurt, but it's, so I'm protecting it, so
Right.
I'll just do walking or biking or yoga, which I love.
Yes, yes,
Oh my God,
yes,
it's the best because it works on your strength, your balance, your flexibility, your breathing, your posture.
yes.
It's your strength. It's just so good for everything. And so this is my physical therapist self speaking as well. It's a great
No, it keep
anti-aging
it is.
exercise. So
And it's
it,
it's 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 flow. The beautiful thing about yoga is, you know, there's different types of yoga, different practices of
mhm.
yoga, but overall, and I've come to really appreciate yoga. I didn't really enjoy yoga really up until the past few years because I thought I had to always do hit, you know, exercises and like you said,
Yeah.
the running and this. And it's like, well, yoga's not making me sweat enough. It's not making, I'm not out of breath. But then but I actually started doing Payo, which is a combination of Pilates and yoga. And for me, that is when I really started paying a little bit more attention to yoga. And so a combination between Payo and yoga is when I, hearing you say all this, you motivated me. I'm like, oh, it's starting tomorrow. I'm gonna do it every day and do my gratitude journal every day. So these are all things I do, but I will admit I have not done them as consistently the past. I would say this year has been a rough year for me to really be consistent in that space, mainly because I've been doing so much with career.
Yes,
But hearing you, this is, and again, Bernadette is Dr. Bernadette Williams York, and she is a practitioner. And, beyond a physical therapist, you are a certified yoga instructor
I
as
am.
and are you at this point with the Reiki, you are certified master level?
I'm a Reiki 2 practitioner right now,
Okay,
but
awesome.
my goal in early 2023 is to become a master Reiki practitioner.
Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome. So,
Hmm.
uh, I could talk to you forever, but I really want to ask these two last questions before we
Hmm.
go into our bonus. One is just really, silly and fun. The other, though, is, you just said you're going to be looking forward to getting the master level of the Reiki in
Hmm.
2023. What
Hmm.
in general, just about life, are you most looking forward to at this stage of your life?
Ah, I think I'm looking forward to being able to bring everything together that I've learned, all the skills, the expertise I've developed, the life lessons, the growth, spiritual growth, all of those things together and just create the life I want, like
Mm, mhm.
really now that I know myself and I love myself and I feel worthy and entitled to the best things that life has to offer. I'm excited about seeing what that looks
I'm excited for you. I'm your friend, and we
like.
tell all our stories. I'm like, oh, I gotta contact Bernadette to see how these new developments are
Hmm.
happening. And so, just watching your life continue to bloom, and you're so inspirational, so inspirational.
Thank you, Kenya.
Yes, for me, and I know many other women that you come across. I know my friends who meet you, they're like, oh my god. Bernadette, like, and Bernadette mentioned being 6 feet, 6'1", I think, to be exact.
Hmm.
And that the very thing that you were so, maybe insecure about is the very thing that you probably get the most. I know from my friends who are like, oh my God, her height. She's just so beautiful and graceful. So it's just so interesting how this is what life does, these opposites.
It is. And it's just at this point that I'm starting to truly embrace my height and like go,
Mm,
thank you, God, for making me this tall. How wonderful it is.
I love that.
Instead
I
of
love
wanting to
that.
be 5'3" like the average, person is,
I love that.
it's now something that I see as a blessing, but it took all of this whole journey to get me
Like
to
the
that
whole
point.
journey. I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. Well, this has been amazing. I do want you to be able to share if anybody wants to get in touch with you, whether it be around Reiki, whether it be around speaking, because yes, you do speaking engagements. What is the best? Is it a social media? Is there a website? How
Hmm.
should people get to know you and maybe follow you?
Well, I am on LinkedIn, so you can find me there, and my it's under my entire name, Bernadette Williams York,
Awesome.
and you can contact me via email. And my
Awesome.
email address is BERNA Williams WILLIAMS 426 at gmail.com.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Thank you for being generous and giving your email. And we'll put all of this in the show notes. Definitely, you guys check her out on LinkedIn because that, professionally, you'll be able to see a lot more that Bernadette does. That you may have some commonalities and need to network with. So definitely. And I cannot let you leave without you telling me a theme song. We ask all our guests because we have a Spotify playlist. So, what is a song or two? I do allow people to give to if they need to. That just really it's just your jam, or it just motivates you, or just it's just your song.
Well, yes, the song that there's actually two, so I'm gonna share both.
Okay.
The first one is Dream in Color by Regina Bell.
I love
I just
it. I
love
love
that. That
it.
just gets me really going. And I have to say that my spiritual roots are still here, even though I don't practice, I don't go to church every Sunday like I used to growing up. It's still, there's so many truths in faith, and in true faith, it's just a common thread through all of them. And
Mm,
so I love the song "God Is" by
mm,
James Cleveland, Reverend James Cleveland. And I
yeah.
think it's the Southern California choir that he sings it with. So those are just like songs that just make me weep almost, just
Mm.
really stirs me inside.
I love it. I love it. Dream in Color and God Is very inspired, both
Yes.
very inspiring songs. So yes, those would be a part of our playlist. So if y'all haven't tapped in, by the time this airs, the playlist should be out and about. We have been building it all fall. So this has been lovely. And I knew it was going to be. I knew it. I knew it. And I'm not going to let Bernadette leave quite yet. Those of you who are on Patreon, stay with us. Those of you who are not on Patreon, you can get on Patreon so that you can watch the video, because we're going to do our bonus round. I'm gonna ask Bernadette some things, another fun question, as well as her being able to give some tips and advice. So if you have felt really inspired by this and want just a little bit more and want to hear a bit more, then definitely join our Patreon so that you can. Plus, you'll get to see the video and see, like I said, how beautiful she is, um, and some other bonus content. So go to patreon.com/finding your voice. But for now, for our audio listeners, I do want to thank those who have been listening to our podcast. People have been contacting me and say, I listen every week. I'm like, yay, yay. That really just makes my soul feel really, really full. So continue to listen to us, and make sure you rate it, review it. And if you really, really, really loved this episode in particular, yeah, let us know. Say something. Send us messages at info@findingyourvoice.com. No, finding your voice after 40. It's a long info@findingyourvoiceafter40.com. So, and it's in the show notes as well. So, all right, Bernadette, any last minute things before we move into the bonus?
No, just thank you so much, Kenya. This has just been just a wonderful experience.
Thank you. No, you're the best. You're one of my faves, and I say that with everybody I know, because anybody coming on, I have to say, but you really, really, I love you a ton. So,
And I love
all
you
right.
back.
I received that. I received that. So, all right, we'll be back next week, and we'll see you guys soon. Take care. All right, we're into our bonus. So our Patreon people are still watching us. Our audio people are no longer hearing. So I
Mhm.
would love for you, for that woman, particularly that, I'm going to say that woman, particularly in her 50s, approaching 60s, because I think that starts to feel like, wait a minute. It's kind of cute to say,
Mm.
I'm after 40 and 40 is the new 20. And it's like 50. Okay, I'm 50 and fabulous. I'm still holding on. But then coming toward that 60 is kind of like, okay.
All right.
So, are there any tips or advice that you would give to that person? And I'm thinking of that woman who maybe is having a harder time stepping into this phase of life. What are things that you would suggest they do or consider to glide or get into this new decade or this part of life?
I would say find some women that you admire who are
Mm,
have already, stepped into that journey, or that 10 years older than you maybe. Find them and let them be an inspiration to you, and ask them about their story and their journey, and see if that can help provide some encouragement for you. So because I think that when you and I think about this in education, particularly for those who are Black and Brown and don't traditionally see doctors, nurses, physical therapists, and others who look like them. It helps if they see somebody who looks like them, and it gives them that added inspiration. I think it's true for aging as well. I think
Yeah.
that if you can find someone who really epitomizes what you would like to be, or how you would like to move into that space, um, find them. And
Yeah.
sometimes they may be accessible, someone you know in your circle, and sometimes it may be, as Kenya said, we got, at our fingertips, social media and all kinds of opportunities on the internet to find people who don't live in your city or in your
Yeah.
state or even in your country.
Hmm.
So that's one piece advice I would give Kenya, is to try and seek a role model. And then second, I would say, surround yourself with positive, uplifting people,
Yeah.
people who are speaking light and speaking life and speaking prosperity, and not like, oh girl, you 50, what, you old, you gonna get diabetes, you're gonna get hypertension, you're gonna you might as well forget about exercising, you're gonna gain 30 pounds,
Oh,
that kind of
wow.
talk about,
Yeah.
doom and gloom. um, get away from those people. Okay. Stay
Mm-hmm.
away from those people. Your mind is your greatest asset, and we can be negatively influenced by the people who we are around, the television shows we watch, or the movies we watch, or the books we read, anything, but particularly people,
People.
those friends.
People.
Be
Yeah.
careful.
Yeah. That was outstanding advice. That was really, really good because, like we were just saying, some people will first think in their head, well, I don't have nobody. And it's like, no, I
Mhm,
don't hear that between the TikTok, Facebook,
mhm, mm, mm,
Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, Google, Pinterest. You don't have to, you don't have to know these people personally. Like it,
mm,
yes,
mhm,
that is very obviously that would be wonderful if you have someone that's accessible that you can invite to lunch or be able
mhm,
just to conversate with. But if you find that you're not quite able to access that, there are so many amazing people in these stages of
mhm,
their life doing things that I would never even fathom. So
mhm.
can push you and inspire you in ways that you weren't even expecting. So I think that was
Exactly.
really good advice. Really good advice. All right, awesome. Okay, so it's my last kind of question, and then we're going to wrap it up, is what is something I did not ask you that you wish I would have asked you? Or what is just something you want people to really know about you?
Mm. I think I just want people to know that, the most important thing to me is my relationship with God, or my
Mm,
relationship with self, which is
which is
with that
God.
God lives within me.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
And that it just really guides everything that I do, because I have this really close and personal relationship now, and I just have this trust and this faith, and um, everything that happens to me, whether it appears good or not, is good for me.
Yeah.
And that God,
Yeah.
He got me. Like I feel so safe and protected, and so um, my faith and my trust has grown tremendously, that I don't have any fear of the future. Like
Mm,
it doesn't dictate what I do and the choices I make, this fear thing. And so
mm,
I think I just want people to know that once you cultivate that relationship with spirit, with God, with source, whatever you call it, then you I mean, your path opens up,
yeah.
and you can feel good about moving into whatever life has for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I love that too. And I'm glad that you said it. I'm glad that was what came to mind because
Mhm,
the power that we have, that we've been gifted from
mhm,
higher source, God, spirit, whatever you want to call it, it's
mhm,
really magical. And we so little talk about it in that
mhm.
context of how powerful we are because it has had such a weird connotation,
Yes, yes,
but it
yes, it
really
has.
is. Yes. And it is, people are really using their power in incredibly abusive, bad, negative ways. But having power doesn't equal that. You know what I mean? It
No,
doesn't.
and we're not talking about that kind of power, that external
Right.
power, and that
Right.
power that people, want to control or dominate, manipulate. We're talking about the power that comes from within, empowering
Mm,
light,
mhm,
and
mhm.
and that just allows you to stand up and step out in the world and radiate, you know, and allow things to come to you. You don't have to go chasing and running and trying
Yeah,
to be like this person or that person. No, you just stand in your own truth and your own power, and
absolutely.
all of those good things come to you.
They come to
And
you.
so they come to you. And so I'm in the receiving phase of my life, Kenya.
You are, you are, you are. And I
Mhm.
think that's important that, this time after, 40 is also, we've done a lot of good stuff. Like if you've made it this far,
Yes.
there's a lot, yeah, it might have been hard, challenging, there was
Mhm.
trauma, there was, but the fact that you endured it is very, very telling. It's
Yes.
telling that you have a lot. When I'll say this and I'll bump off, but when I meet with students and they'll tell me, and they're younger, these might be my students in their 20s, some may be hitting close to 30, and they're telling me some really heavy stuff, some heavy,
Mm.
heavy stuff. But
Yeah.
I'll say, wow, look how powerful you are.
Mhm.
Because at this age you've had this and you are still in school furthering your education,
Yes.
taking care of yourself. This is just to me a showing of how powerful you are and how much God and spirit has gifted you to do this race, to do this journey, because that level has happened. So
And
yeah.
you're just speaking light into them, Kenya, and you're speaking life into them. That's what
Thank
you're
you.
doing. And it's
Yeah.
just so beautiful. And our young people need to hear it. So thank
They do.
you.
Yeah. Oh, you're welcome. And yeah, and
Hmm.
you're in education too. So we got to speak a lot of light, because it's a lot
Yes.
of dark. They have a lot of dark that they're navigating. So, well, this has
Yes.
been awesome. Awesome, awesome. I'm saying
Yes.
bye-bye again. We said it kind of to the audio, so we'll kind of say it again now. Again, as we've kind of reflected on these bonus things, any last minute comments for our Patreon audience, or tip or suggestion for them to gnaw on when it comes to this life after 40?
It just gets better with time.
Mm, I agree. I agree. This is lovely, and I get to see you, and those we recorded this back in October. People are probably not going to be hearing this till December, but I just saw you too, so I feel really like yay.
Yay! Let's keep this going.
Keep it going. So,
Yes.
all right, Patreon, we're going to end this recording. Bernadette, you can stay tight for just a moment, and we will be back again next week. So, you guys take care.